Hey guys, and welcome back down by the fire. In today's episode, we're going to be tackling a really interesting topic. Today, we're going to be talking about our favourite coastal campsites, so stay tuned. So our favourite coastal campsites. What an interesting topic for the second ever episode of By the Fire. Now before we start this one, there are thousands of coastal campsites all over Australia and we have definitely not been to all of them. In this episode of By the Fire, we are only going to be judging the ones that we have been to. And that isn't an awful lot, but we have been to some really awesome ones. So if you think that there's a coastal campsite that we haven't been to that is better than the ones that are listed on this list, be sure to leave it in the comment section below and I'm sure we'll get around to it. So when we're ranking these coastal campsites, guys, there's usually a few ways that we do it. For me, I'm looking for a few key things. What's the scenery like? How close are we actually to the coast or the river, whatever we're looking at here? What are the facilities like available there? The toilets, showers? How big's the campsite? How many of us can it accommodate? How good was the atmosphere of the place? And overall, how good was the trip that we had here? So you guys may think that that's all the key things about a campground. Well, let me tell you guys how Jared judges these campgrounds. It's really simple, way more simple than how I judge them, and that is how many fish did we catch on that trip. So I'll be countering that into the judgment as well for these campgrounds. It is unfortunate today that Jared can't be here by the fire with us, but I have gotten all of his opinions on the trips and the coastal campsites, so I'll be sure to weigh you guys in on that also. So let's get right into it. Starting off for me is a beautiful campground in the Boody Boody National Park on the New South Wales mid-north coast. Just only 10 kilometres from the town of Foster is the Ruins Campground. So we decided to visit the Ruins Campground as a group. There was a fair amount of us, 6 of us to be exact, and we were very easily accommodated on the site. We had the camper trailer, we had 2 large gazebos, we had a few tents, swags, the lot, they were all there and they were spread out pretty nicely on the site also. It was very easy to access the Ruins Campground, I must keep in mind. Straight off the highway, we didn't need 4-wheel drive, you could get in there with a 2-wheel drive car. In fact, Brittany, who we went with, had only a 2-wheel drive car and it got in there perfectly fine. So when we went in there, we decided to pick the camp spot that was right by the beach access trail. The edge of the campground is literally only 20 metres or so from the beach. There are multiple access points to the beach. So in terms of location relative to the coast, this one was really close, which was pretty cool. You guys can actually head over and watch this video on my channel on the Ruins Campground. There are 2 there. I did a full cook-up video on the Ruins Campground as well as an adventure video there. It was pretty cool. It was the first time I ever did a cook-up video. So the facilities available at the Ruins Campground were really good. They're probably one of the best facilities that we've ever had at a campground. There were hot showers available on a timer and you didn't have to pay for them. That was a real luxury bonus for us. The price was reasonable considering that, so it was one of the more expensive campgrounds that we visited. It is a national parks campground and you do have to book there. It was one of the more expensive ones, but the facilities accommodated to the price very fairly, I have to say. The downside for us, I think, for that, and it was our fault, I definitely must mention, that it was really hot. It did hinder the mood a little bit. Everything was hot, the ground, the sand, just the grass, everything was super hot on that trip, and so we couldn't really do much during the day. Luckily the gazebos kept us sheltered from the sun, so if you are planning on going there in the warmer months of the year, just keep that in the back of your head that it is very hot there. Okay. So the only other downside to this trip, guys, was it's a bit of a long lengthy story, but so every day the rangers come through and they tick off the little list and they make sure that everyone's there and they've got the right amount of people on the sites and all that stuff. When the ranger come up to us, the booking was relevant, like we were supposed to be there. However, on his little sheet, it said that there were not enough adults accounted for, so that there were more people on the site than it said on his little booking sheet. So I went and got the receipt and he didn't really want a bar of it, to be honest. I showed him and I said, oh, look, I paid for 6 adults on this site. Didn't care. He made me call the National Parks office while he was standing in front of me and then mentioned a little thing. He spoke to the lady for a little while and then gave the phone over to me, and then I ended up having to pay an extra, what was it, like $95 or something like that for a night. He told us we had to move the car, had to move one of the tents, and after paying the extra money for me, that absolutely killed the entire vibe of the trip, because I was confident that I had paid the right amount, and it seems as if there was some kind of glitch in the system, but that absolutely ruined the Ruins campground for me. In terms of the actual campground itself, it was a great little place. I can't fault the actual campground. Just that little experience there with the park ranger really ruined it for me, and that is why it is not at a higher place on this list. So up next on the list is another beautiful spot on the New South Wales mid-north coast. Up next we are talking about the Wells camping area in the Myall Lakes National Park. Man, what a cool spot this one is. It's just tucked in between Newcastle and Foster, near Bulahdelah on the New South Wales mid-north coast. It's a little bit further south than the Ruins campground was. So this was another group camp for us this time. The Wells was one of many campgrounds in the Myall Lakes National Park that we had to choose from. It was really secluded, and it was very well tucked away right in between the Bomba Broadwater and Mungo Beach. That was a real highlight for the Myall Lakes National Park for me, was that this was not the only option that we had. There were so many other campgrounds available, which was really awesome. So the Wells is very easily accessible, no four-wheel drive required at all. You can get in there with a two-wheel drive easily. It is all bitumen all the way in. The campsite was pretty large. It accommodated us with the camper trailer and a boat. Again, it was a group trip, but I thought that was pretty awesome that we were able to fit a lot onto that small little site. What was really cool about this place was the wildlife. This was actually the only campsite on the New South Wales mid-north coast that I've observed an active dingo population. We had a dingo run up on us on the first night at camp, and then we had a dingo come up and sit down near us on the beach when we were fishing. We had a real blast exploring the Great Lakes region out on the boat. There was heaps and heaps of stuff to do in this area. It's one of those places that if you just want to do nothing, you can do nothing, but if you want to stay busy, there is so much to do, from walking tracks, driving, boating, fishing, everything. There was so much to do in the Myall Lakes National Park. It was crazy. The Wells was a really cool little spot. The scenery was amazing. You kind of tucked in between the Bomba Broadwater and Mungo Beach, like I said before. Less than 20 metres from camp was the banks of the Bomba Broadwater, which is one of the Myall Lakes. And then just across the road, a little bit down, was Mungo Beach. Now, what was really cool about Mungo Beach is that Mungo Beach is a four-wheel drive access beach. You can drive on Mungo Beach. That's just a massive, massive bonus added to the Myall Lakes National Park. No matter where you stay in there, you've got that available to you. Now, the Wells was very well located. I really, really enjoyed staying at the Wells. The facilities available were just your average National Parks drop toilets, and the price was fairly acceptable. It was your average National Park kind of price. It wasn't that expensive, and for the time that we had there, I would say that is absolutely worth it. There is actually a video on the Myall Lakes National Park and the Wells campground on the channel. It is one of the most popular videos on the channel to date, which is really, really awesome. The only downside to this trip that we had was that it was very cold and we didn't catch any fish. Righto, so now on to the primo of the coastal camp spots. We are really getting into the cream of the crop now of our favourite coastal camp spots. The next three, the top three, were impossibly hard to choose between. For a long time now, this next camp spot was on the top of our list. We're talking about none other than Mystery Bay Campground on the New South Wales South Coast. My goodness, what a spot. The atmosphere, the location, the scenery, the facilities, just the peacefulness and the all-round vibe of Mystery Bay. It was very, very hard to knock Mystery Bay off the top of our list for a very, very long time. We just absolutely loved this place. Mystery Bay was one of the first coastal campgrounds that we ever visited, and it was very nicely located down the New South Wales South Coast. When we rolled in there, nobody else was there. It was the middle of a day on a Saturday and there was just no one there, and that was just awesome. The weather was perfect when we went down there. The campgrounds were nice and secluded. There were some open area ones as well, and they were immaculately maintained. They had some really nice facilities there. There were plenty of toilets and they had cold showers available there too. The price was just absolutely unbelievable. It was only $25 per night, And for what we had there was no power. It was all unpowered camping. Sorry, I must mention there. But for what we were dealt, it was just such an awesome little place. We had the most fun we had there in so long. Mystery Bay is one of those places that I really can't do it justice talking about. You just have to go there. I'm not sure if it was the time of year, the weather. You just kind of would walk down there on the beach of an afternoon and early up in the morning, and the colours of the sky were so picturesque. The water, the reflection off the water was crystal clear. It was just absolutely beautiful, and it has to be still one of the coolest places that we've been to today, not just in coastal camp spots, but just overall camp spots. Mystery Bay is still very, very high up there on the list. We had an absolute blast at Mystery Bay, like I mentioned, but the highlight here, especially for Jared, was that he caught 4 fish down there, I believe, all within a very short time period. It was really cool. We got to see some seals actually just off the rocks. The atmosphere was awesome down there. The beach, you could walk along the whole beach. It was just one of those perfect locations. And like I said, for a long time, Mystery Bay was on the top of the list, and it wasn't until recently that it was knocked down. So coming in now at number 2 is probably one of the most significant places that we've ever been to. We're talking about none other than the Diamond Head Campground in the Crowdy Bay National Park. Man, what a place. This place is just beautiful. It's one of those places that the camera just cannot do justice. Now, when we visited the Diamond Head Campground in the Crowdy Bay National Park, it really was a turning point for the channel. And that is because that is the first trip that I was able to use my new camera gear and my new editing software, and I ran a new style of video that is still stuck to this day. So in a way, this trip was the practice trip for me to get it right. So when we rolled in there, the facilities were pretty awesome. There's an amenities block there, and they have cold showers available. But what I found really cool about this place was that you can use the cold shower, or you can hang your solar shower over a little hook in there. I haven't seen that in any other national park since. It was a really cool little feature that I loved. So the campground was kept very well. It was a very well maintained campground, and the campsites were able to fit us with a large camp. Again, this was another group trip, so we had the car, the camp trailer and the boat all fit onto the site with no problem. The price was very reasonable. It was only like $25 a night per adult, which for what we were dealing, it was great. What we were dealt, sorry, with the facilities and all that. So what I really liked about Diamond Head Campground actually was that just off to the side there was a little rubbish tip. Now I haven't mentioned that with any of the other ones, but you could very easily dispose of your rubbish at this site. It was very, very easy. It looked like actually that the local community also used this little tip to dispose of rubbish. There was no rubbish anywhere at all at Diamond Head Campground, and that was a really, really big highlight for me. Another cool feature about Diamond Head Campground is that you can actually drive on Diamond Head Beach. You can get a pass from the small town of Laurelton, which is only 10 kilometers from Diamond Head Beach, and then you can drive on the beach. And it's really cool because it's one of those beaches that doesn't get a lot of traffic. There's only one entry point, and that is from the Diamond Head Campground, and there they'll check your permit, and if you haven't got one, you cannot drive on the beach. That keeps the hoons away, and it really moderates the traffic on the beach. There was hardly anyone driving on the beach, so we got to enjoy the pristine condition of the beach. It was really, really awesome. Another big highlight for the Diamond Head Campground was that Jared did actually reel a little surf brim in on the first night. That was really cool. This was one of the first coastal trips that we went on. I think this was second. We went to Mystery Bay, and then we went here afterwards. The reason that Diamond Head takes its spot above Mystery Bay on the list only is because of the significance of the trip. Because we started our new style there, and we have kept going with that style up until today. It was very significant for us, and that for me is the only reason that Diamond Head takes it over Mystery Bay. Scenery wise, Mystery Bay was definitely better. So now it's time, moving on to the big number 1. Now there may be some debate about this one actually, because it's not actually a campground, so to speak. It's a caravan park, although we did camp there and it had a very large area for unpowered campsites. We're talking about the Big 4 Adventure Park in Batemans Bay, the beachfront resort, and my goodness, what a place. For such a long time, nothing could really break the tie between Mystery Bay and Diamond Head that we had for the number 1 spot on our list. There was easily enough space to accommodate our large campsite, as you'd expect at a caravan park. The price that we paid compared to all the national parks was a very large amount. We paid a lot more at the caravan park than we did at all the other national parks. So the campgrounds could obviously accommodate us very easily for a large campsite. They can accommodate anything, large caravans, campsites. You can even stay in a cabin if you wanted. The facilities available were amazing. They were just freshly renovated, and even in the days where we toured around in the caravan, there are not many caravan parks that I've been to with better facilities than this one. The facilities here were really second to none, and it really speaks for itself on how well maintained the place was. The atmosphere here was just amazing. You were less than 20 meters from the beach. You literally walk down a small path and there you are on the coast at the beach, looking out over the ocean and a beautiful view over Batemans Bay. I'm not sure if it was the fact that we hadn't been to a caravan park in so long, or the fact that everyone was just really keen to go here, that made this trip so good. But we really enjoyed ourselves here. Not sure if it was just the atmosphere, the scenery, or the fact that everybody really just needed to get away down there, but I would definitely double down to stay there again if I had to. That was just an awesome little trip. Everyone was so happy and comfortable. We had some really awesome feeds down there. We cooked up some nice dinners and everything like that, and it was the last group trip that we were going to have for a while before I moved all the way out here to Mudgee. So everything about this place was just awesome, but the highlight for us by far had to be the fishing down here. Jared reeled in, I think it was around 11 legal size brim from this place. Literally just off the banks, there's a little pond river there. Just off those banks, Jared reeled in that many fish. It was just shocking. We also met Ray down there. Ray, if you're watching this, hope you're doing well, mate. We still talk about this trip so much. It's just unreal how much of a good time we had down there. Between Jared and Ray, the amount of legal size brim reeled in on one afternoon was just mind-blowing. Jared actually achieved his personal best with a 40 centimeter brim down there in Batemans Bay. That was just awesome. This video is also up on my channel if you guys want to have a look at it. It's probably one of my favorite videos to watch as well. Not sure if that has any impact on why it's so high on the list, but there you guys have it. Our favorite coastal campgrounds ranked. Now it's very hard for me to comprehend to you guys how small the gap is between the bottom and the top. It's a very minute gap because all of these campgrounds, we had a great time, and it's very hard to fault them, and it was very hard to rank them. If you ask Jared, he's probably got a completely different opinion to me regarding which trips he liked the most. Well, so there you guys have it. If there is a coastal campground that you guys think deserves to be on this list, make sure you guys leave it in the comments section below, and I'll be sure to get back to you guys, and I'm sure that we'll get around to it eventually because we're really after some inspiration for some nice coastal spots coming up soon. Well, thank you guys for tuning in yet again to By the Fire. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments section below, as well as leave suggestions for other weekly topics that we can talk about here by the fire. And as always, we will see you in the next adventure.